Your mom honks loud.
Your mom honks louder than my mom.
Welcome to Your Mom. Your Mom Podcast. Your Mom's Podcast.
This isn't any podcast. This is your mother's podcast.
My Mom's Podcast.
Nah, dude, she's your mom.
With Ashley Addison and Lisa McCaffrey.
Your mom is a podcast.
Shut up, dude.
Welcome to Your Mom. I'm Ashley Adamson.
I'm Lisa McCaffrey.
I have two small children who do not listen to a word that I say. You have
4 adult, sort of semi-adult / adult children that don't listen to anything I say.
Okay, so there's a lot of common ground here. English major.
Correct. And you as well?
Yes.
Yes. Bonus, we can both read.
We can read. We're smart with words. And so if you can do those two things, you should start a podcast.
100%. Thus,
Your mom.
your mom.
So I do want to tell the story of the first time that I met you. Do you remember the first time we met? And you don't have to feel bad if you don't.
Refresh my memory, because I remember meeting you several times, and I don't know which was the actual first.
So the Heisman ceremony was the first time that we actually really connected. I think we maybe met in person. Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting that was truly the first time that we connected, because that is where the idea for this show started. It was the day before the Heisman. So we were in New York, 2015. And there was this media availability at some, swanky hotel. Mm-hmm. I don't know where we were.
Yeah, I remember.
Hotel. And so we're doing all these interviews, and I'm interviewing you and Ed, and you guys are hilarious. And you were all taking a picture, a family picture. And I remember you were kind of at the end, and you, I think you pinched Christian. You were just like, can you stand up straighter? Can you smile? And he gave you this oh my God, Mom, rolled his eyes, and you were just stand up straight, look at the camera. And it was the first time, I just remember it so well, because I had known Christian, I'd met him 2 years before that. And he is the most polished, he's this perfect little specimen from, everything that I'd.
Calm down, but whatever.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I guess it's only 3 minutes into our podcast. Okay. We'll save that for the end of the podcast. But I remember seeing him seeing him as a son for the first time instead of, the superstar. And I remember thinking later, there is no one that can humanize somebody like a mom. And
Right.
then we got to actually connect beyond that. And I interviewed you right before I had my first kid, 2 days before I had my first kid.
Wow.
My son. And
Who's now how old?
Who's now 5.
Wow.
So this has been, this and have talked about this idea for a long time of doing a podcast in which we interview moms of very highly successful people. And we'll start with athletes. And I remember I called you and said, I'm just going to call her. Let's see if she says yes. I doubt she's going to say yes. And if she says no, then at least she'll maybe come on. If I host it, maybe she'll come on and be a guest. And you said, immediately, yes. And it almost felt too good to be true. So my first question to you is why did you say yes?
Well, first off, I was driving to Greeley, so I would have said yes to anything under the sun besides what I was doing. Driving to Greeley, Colorado, so which has an unusual odor. It's famous for smelling in a particular way.
Yes.
They call it the smell of money. So I would have said yes, literally, if you told me let's go jump off a bridge together, it'd be really fun. I'm like, yes, whatever. I'll do whatever you want right now. But no, you literally, I was driving, and it was like just the divine intervention, because I was thinking to myself on the way going, gosh, I'm following my husband one more time. He's coaching out at University of Northern Colorado, and my son is going to play there. My other son's coaching there. And I'm just driving out to Greeley to support him, which I love doing and I'll do forever. But at the same time, I'm I really need to do something for myself. I really do. It's been way too long. And my youngest, Luke, had been 2 years in college, and I'd done the remodel in the house and all the things that you should do. And I'm oh my gosh, I have a college education. I can read. Not to brag or anything, but I can read.
And not
I just
just
need
a
to
college
do
education.
something,
We should make sure to clarify that you went to Stanford and were a
it wasn't
3-year
Boston
starter.
College, but,
yeah, well. Right.
which is a great college too.
Yeah, it is a great college. It's not Stanford University.
Whatever. Yeah.
But
I could kick a soccer ball. So
your point being that you
that I was literally like hit me right then. You call that. I'm like, wow, this is perfect. It's a win-win. I would love to get on the air and rag on my kids for a couple minutes a week.
It's the least that we can do.
Yeah, it's just
I
I
mean,
kind of feel like I need to. So
yeah, it's a therapy session too, for sure. The fact that we are sitting here in
live
West Hollywood,
right?
Yeah, well, live to tape.
Yeah, well,
as they
live
say
to tape,
the-
and that I meant I should say in person, not
but
live.
in person.
Yeah,
and that
it's so cool.
It's amazing. It honestly, I said it to you when we walked in this morning. I had just the biggest smile on my face driving here this morning because, everyone thinks about, you have all of these ideas with your friends throughout the years or all these different things that you want to do, and it's hard to actually go do the thing.
Right.
And so the fact that we are sitting here and we've got 2 microphones, and who knows if anyone will ever listen to this, but
Who
here
cares?
it
We're
doesn't
having fun.
matter. We're going to do it, and it's going to be fun. So I
Absolutely.
want to say thank you for saying yes. I'm glad that I waited 6 years.
Yep.
Because
It literally
seemed
was
like
the perfect
timing is everything.
Yeah,
Timing is everything.
100%. Timing is everything, and that couldn't have been more perfect.
So the goal for me for this podcast is I was like thinking about what the conversations that we want to have and who we want to talk to and what we want to get out of it. Because let's be real, as you made the joke, everyone and their mom has a podcast.
Yeah, everyone and their mom. Yeah.
And there's a lot of parenting podcasts out there. This is not a how to parent your child.
Heck no. Nope.
If
you're
you came
looking
here for
how to,
then just turn it off right now,
Done,
and
yeah.
I can recommend a bunch of other great podcasts.
Get
with
on another
people.
podcast. Yeah, because
like real actual advice.
We'd
from
probably be more apt to be like what not to do.
Yeah, this is a what not to do.
Guide.
No. But I think to me the thing that I loved, and just to go back to the story of seeing Christian and you and seeing him as just like a son and a human, is that we put all of these, we put athletes and celebrities on these pedestals, and we think that this is like this perfect life, and they must have done every single thing right, and their parents must have done every single thing right, and the reality is, like, parenthood is a messy disaster of a journey that you go on where you're hoping that you're doing it, but there's no way to know if you're doing it right. I think that's the hardest thing. Like,
right.
There's not any initial feedback.
Exactly.
Of like,
you don't know. Yeah.
That was
until
good.
They're like 27 and they haven't been arrested. You're
yeah.
Like, oh, okay, good. I did a good job with that
no
one.
tattoos, right?
Well, that's done.
That's
yeah.
so now
I
you
screwed
don't.
up there.
Yeah. I mean, you have
Whatever.
a college dropout too.
I have a college dropout who has tattoos.
I mean,
but I don't think he's been in prison
that you know of.
That I know of.
No, I mean, you don't know that it's
okay.
a prison tat. You don't know that he got that tattoo
true.
in prison.
Good point.
But he could have. Just saying. But I think that's to me what I'm excited about. And as a mom of 2 small kids, selfishly, it's an amazing opportunity for me to get to hear from incredible women who have been through the journey and are in, I don't want to say on the back end of it because you're never on the back end of parenthood. You're always
right. You're always
in it.
Oh my gosh. As I've learned, I always thought, once they go to college, or once they graduate college, it'll
then
be
it's
easier.
It's not.
It is never. I know. And people used to say that. I'm like, no way. You're lying. 100%. It's true.
Is it more stressful now, or is it just different type of stress?
It's a different type of stress. Yeah. It's different. You don't worry about the injuries, I should say, or they're physically being at risk, but you worry about, like, you want them just to be happy, whatever it is they're doing, and fulfilled and satisfied. And no one ever is. So it's like, how's your kids going to be? So you're never feeling like perfect, but that's okay. That's part of life. That's the messiness of life.
Yes. And so I think that's what I'm excited about. And I don't know what, if there's anything you want to add to what this broader conversation is, but it's like shining a spotlight on some incredible moms, and not just like, I think we want to go into stepmoms,
right?
Bonus moms, adopted moms.
Moms that have, because there's not
so
one way to do
moms,
this.
There is not one way to do this.
No way. No way. Yeah.
I think that there is, you try so hard as a parent, the thing, and it is like in you innately of just, I want to give everything I can to allow my kid to reach their potential and to be happy, right? Like
exactly,
that's kind of what it boils down to.
Right.
And so I'll do anything to hopefully be able to nurture that, but you don't really know what the key is. And I think to know that, like, even the people who raised the 0.01%, that they screwed up and that they did stuff that was not good. Totally. And that it was ugly and messy and sloppy along the way. And there were moments that they were like, what is going on?
Right. What did I just do?
What did I just do? What did he just do?
Yeah.
Was
it because of me that he did that?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think and then also understanding who these incredible women are, because so much of it becomes about Christian McCaffrey. like, I want to know who Lisa is and your journey and your path. And I think that that is something that we don't spend enough time talking about, like just who these women are. And they aren't like the cheerleaders, you know, protectors on the sideline. Like, you have your own incredible story. And shining a light on that, to me, is what I hope is certainly one of the outcomes of this podcast. Yeah. And to figure out how not to totally f my kids up.
Well, you're talking to the wrong person, so next.
That's why we have to have guests. Yeah,
Yes,
that's why I wanted you as a co-host.
Let's
and
bring in some. Yeah, let's bring in some really good guests.
Yes. You play soccer at Stanford, which is where you meet your husband. Was he an English major?
No.
But he can recite Edgar Allan Poe. Did you tell me that? Is that real?
He can do the Raven
from memory.
Yeah, that's why I married him. You know that.
I mean, that's wild. Of all the things that we're probably going to talk about on this podcast,
we should just focus on that. Because I mean, seriously, that's.
We're going to have him on. We should have him on.
We should just have him do that.
We don't want to ask you any other questions, but we'd
like you to recite the Raven from memory. Do you mind?
So you meet him. Tell us the story
we
of how
met.
You met.
I like to tell people he was the caboose on a train I was forming at his frat house. So, which is not true. I'm kidding. But that was our big joke. It sounds way better than the story that I'm about to tell because it's pretty innocuous and boring. So we did meet. He was an SAE. He was in a frat, and we had a mutual friend that was having a birthday party and going overseas. So we went to a goodbye dinner for him / birthday dinner for that guy. And there's a bunch of people there, and we sat next to each other. And it was called Max's Opera Cafe in Palo Alto. I don't even think we ate. I think we just had dessert, and we had 7-layer cookie that I don't know if I've ever put anything that amazing in my mouth in my life to this day. And, like you're poor college student, and they brought this dessert that was huge, and it was the greatest thing ever. I think that's why I fell in love with Ed.
You fell in love with
him. Yeah, this dessert. I could talk for hours about the dessert. Forget Ed, forget parenting. This 7-layer cookie was the tits. It was so good. So anyway, what were we talking about again? Ed was there too, I think he was there. Yeah. So anyway, we sat next to each other, and I was flirting with him, what I thought was flirting. And later on, he's like, no, you would hardly talk to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was literally giving it my best shot. So I guess I'm not
what was flirting. Like, do you remember what giving it your best shot was?
It was like, I was talking to him. I was asking him questions and looking him in the eye. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I gave him my attention. Yeah. He should have stepped up and known right then and there. No, but he did ask me to go to a movie. He claims. I hinted, I've never seen that new movie out, Pretty Woman. I'm like, there's a new movie out that everybody's really into. I've never seen it. Literally, I swear, I think that's what I said. I'm not even kidding. And he's like, after I think I said it probably 4 times. And finally, he's like, oh, you want to go to a movie tonight?
So it was that night. He asked you to go
that night we went to a movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the sparks must have been a good cookie.
That 7-layer cookie. I mean, it had 7 layers.
I mean, I don't even know what that means.
There was only 6?
I don't know what that means.
There was 7
of frosting
layers. No, it was graham cracker with butter as the main bottom, and then these gorgeous, beautiful chocolate chips, like Ghirardelli chocolate chips, then butterscotch chips, then sprinkled coconut, and then sweetened condensed milk over that, obviously.
And you're like, I'm going to marry this cookie. I'm going to marry this guy.
Whatever it is. Yeah. That cookie was to die for. So I think Ed came to the movie too, but I brought that cookie to the Pretty Woman that night. So it was awesome.
So then was it like from then on you were
it was pretty much we went on a bunch of dates, and to be honest, the second date, well, first of all, I saw him and I'm like, wow, that guy's really good looking. He has potential, but has awful hair. Yeah. He has the worst hair I've ever seen. He had a mullet. What? I'm like, I don't do mullets.
He had a mullet.
He had a bad mullet. Yeah, left over.
So how did you tell him?
So I told him I could cut hair, which I'd never done in my life, completely faked it. And we went to his house and we found nail scissors, and I cut his mullet off. And I'm like, okay, that's better. But it literally took probably over an hour and a half to do it because they weren't super sharp.
I mean, nail scissors too are curved.
Teeny tiny. Well, these ones were straight. Okay, I do remember they were straight. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the curved.
Yeah. And I got rid of that mullet and I'm like, now you look more like the cookie.
Now I'm ready. When did you know that you were going to marry him?
Oh, remember that caboose I was talking about at the frat house? No, it wasn't then. So just so you're wondering, it was when I saw that. No, let's see, there was one. So it was leading up into the draft, as I remember this. Yeah, we were at his place hanging out. He asked me if I would go with him wherever he was drafted. And I was smitten, I'm not going to lie to you. And I was like, and in my head, I'm like, please. I didn't know that much about football, but all I knew is I was like, yeah. And in my head, I'm like, please don't be Green Bay, because I can't get a job in Green Bay, because that's the first thing that popped in my head. I'm like, I don't want to just follow this guy wherever. I mean, I'm getting an education. I want to be able to find a job and be able to do something. So, and that's what popped in my head. It was like Green Bay or Minnesota. I just had no connections there whatsoever. And I wanted to do something with my life too. So anyway, it was the Giants. And I was like, oh, I can do New York. I could get a job there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's waitress job available.
So did you tell him, can I just wait and see where you're drafted?
No, I didn't. But I did later. I'm like, I did say, I really hope it's somewhere in a good market that I could get a job. I did say that. So, yeah.
So then when did he actually ask you to marry him? Like, how long were you living in sin, I guess is the question.
That's disgusting, and I wouldn't do that. And my kids don't do that either. So let's just get that out right now.
Right now. That's point number one about being a good mom.
About that. None of them are married, so they're nothing. So we moved to the basement of somebody's house in New Jersey. We had, I think, asbestos on the ceiling. And we were renting out the basement. It was super cheap. There was older couple upstairs. She would smoke and blow the smoke in the air vents. And I didn't have a job, and Ed did. So he was gone almost all day. And I was down there, and she'd come down and help do our laundry, which was so kind and so nice. But I was, it was very frustrating, because I was in like nowhere, New Jersey, someone's basement, trying to look for a job, getting my resume out there. And it was just kind of a tough time for me. But eventually I got a job. I at first worked as an intern for CBS Sports.
Oh.
I did that for a little while, and then eventually got a job in PR.
What year is this?
This one was 92, 91, 92.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and you asked
when did he actually propose?
So we lived in sin for a year. To me, a year is a football season. So after the first football season, we got married. Yeah, we got married. He asked me to marry him right before the first season.
Okay.
And I said,
and
yes.
You said yes.
I did. I said, yeah, I did. Is that bad? Should I not have done that?
I think it's turned out. I mean, you tell me. Like, I think looking at things from afar, it feels like things have gone fairly well.
If I have nothing else to do and don't have any other options, I'll marry you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I told him.
Like, at that point, it was the best option on the table.
Right.
Did you know that you wanted to have kids? And when, did you want to start having kids right away? Or what was the...
No, I wanted to wait and work for a little bit, but then after a while you see a lot of the other people with kids, and we had some good friends. They were a little bit older than us. They had two cute kids, and I just loved playing with them and stuff. So I thought that was in our cards for sure. Now but for boys, no. But let's see, I worked for 3 years, and then we had Max.
Okay, so you've got Max. So give me the rundown of.
Okay, so Max is the offensive coordinator for Ed at UNC Greeley, University of Northern Colorado, Greeley, go Bears. And then Christian is 25, plays for the Panthers. Then 3 years later is Dylan, who's 22, and he plays quarterback for the UNC Bears under Max and Ed. And then Luke, the youngest, is at Rice University, and he's switching positions this year.
He is.
Big revelation. Yeah, he went from quarterback. Now he's going to be a wide receiver / running back. He wants to be like Deebo Samuels. That's what he wants.
Okay.
So
I mean, that would
and
turn out well if he
Bloomgren
could
is
do that.
Coach, Coach
Bloomgren,
who was at Stanford before.
Who coached Christian at Stanford.
Yes.
Bloom's the best.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's it. Yeah,
and you wanted a girl.
That's a lot.
You wanted a girl.
I did. And so I had Max. Everything was fine. And then I thought, we'll have a girl next. And then lo and behold, I get pregnant with Christian. Of course, I have to find out. Well, we made a pact at first. Ed will tell the story that we were like, we're not going to find out. We're just going to make it a surprise. And the minute they said they could, it's like, yeah.
Yes,
come on.
I'm with you.
Yeah, come on. And I cried because for some weird reason, I just knew I would never have a girl. After him, I just had a premonition, a notion. So I cried. Christian loves when I tell that story. It makes him feel really good about himself.
He would have been an amazing girl.
Oh my gosh. Out of the 4, he should have been a girl. He reminds me of a girl. He's just so effeminate and, it's just so sensitive.
Yeah. I mean, he takes such good care of his eyebrows.
He does, and he just dresses so great. He looks good in a dress with heels, too.
Because you wanted a girl. So then when you found out, did you find out with your next two?
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding?
And every time it wasn't as sad because you sort of were resigned.
Right. I kind of knew. So I was like, okay, we'll deal.
I don't know. I don't know. Is there still time for a girl?
Sure. Yeah.
It's not off the table.
It's not completely.
Okay.
Yeah, that is off the table. We are not having any more. Like I said, I know how it works, and it's not happening again. Yep. Nope. We're done.
Give me a self. Unless Ed can carry.
Yeah, exactly.
The fifth child.
I don't think it's happening. Yeah.
What kind of mom are you? And I'm sure you've evolved as a mom, obviously.
Yeah,
but if
and,
you were to
I
describe
honestly
your
have changed
parenting, yes.
completely. Yeah, like I started out the neurotic, wanting everything done perfectly, and oh my gosh, I think my mom has funny stories about how I had to have like the tops of the bottles had to match the bottom, and like I'd freak if it wasn't that case. Just a stupid asinine stuff that I look back on like I was an idiot.
It's also because you're trying to get control. Like you have no
100%.
control.
Zero.
So the littlest thing that you can feel like you have some control over, that is what. Yeah, so it's not crazy. I think
Okay, good. That makes me
normal.
feel better because I was like, and then you realize like, oh my gosh, this kid doesn't sleep. He's up every 2 hours.
Yes.
So
I'm going to just make sure his bottle is perfectly
at
aligned
least
and maybe
color coordinates. I think in my head, I thought, if the bottles don't color coordinate, he's not going to be able to tell colors properly or whatever. I mean, your mind goes like crazy. Oh my gosh, I ruined his life because the bottle top didn't match the bottom. So anyway, yes. And I started out that way and changed very quickly because realizing, no, you can't control anything.
And the
at
more
all.
you try, the less.
The worse it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it took some hard lessons to come to
So
that
you screwed
point.
Max up pretty good.
100%. That poor kid. Yeah.
That's
So-
what they do say. Like your first kid's kind of a throwaway because
Right. You make
know.
all your mistakes and you just completely mess him up.
Yeah.
Let's not have him on. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll start. Yeah, I think we should start with Luke. Luke is probably.
Luke.
'Cause you've now
Who?
refined.
Who? Which what? I have no idea who that is. I don't even know that name.
Because I remember when we did at that podcast when I interviewed you right before I had my son Collins,
Oh, no.
you said because he was now the last kid in the house. It was his senior year of high school,
so
I think.
he was probably 15
or junior. Maybe he was a junior.
15
Yeah,
or
so it was
16,
it was last year, and the 3 other boys. And you were like, "I am going to overparent the shit out of him. We're going to make up for lost time."
Well,
Not so
Mom might
much
run out
so
a little
now.
bit of energy.
Yeah, because
kid
you're
basically
just sort
raised
of,
himself,
I mean,
so.
I'm 1 of 4, and our youngest Zach. It's like you can tell the parents ran out of energy.
It's so true. But guess what? Luke is the most well-adjusted out of the 4.
Yeah.
He is so self-sufficient. He is so well-adjusted. It's like...
Who
I'm
needs
like,
parents, really? is
after
the-
all of it, I'm like, are you kidding me? I had all that energy for this others, and
Less is
Luke
more.
is like less is more. So I learned that by the 4th. Maybe that's why I had to have 4. So I'll make
to learn
I'll
the
do
lesson.
one of them right.
God, the
Raise one
universe,
of them,
you had
yeah.
not learned the lesson yet. You just had to. We're going to keep sending you boys until
Right?
you learn
Yeah.
it.
Can we throw one girl in, please? Please. Just want to go to one dance
So,
recital.
do you feel like you have a parenting philosophy? Like, did you try to? Did you think about being a mom in a certain?
I probably had every parent philosophy under the sun that went out the window after
Yeah.
like a day. Yeah, no, I can't even look back and say, oh, I tried to do this. And you try and it just flies by. But you're only as happy as your most miserable kid. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yes.
And that's accurate. So you're always, you're worried and with the more you have, the harder it is to, remain sane because you're always worried about the one that's not happy. Even if somebody's on top of the world,
Right.
there might be one, and you're equally as worried about all of them, no matter who's rich and famous and who's not. Like some days I'm more worried about Christian than anybody else, even though he seems like he's got all together. And other days it's a different kid. So
Yeah.
it ebbs and flows, and it's just a messy, wonderful, amazing, most amazing thing you'll ever do in your life. But
So, who are you most worried about right now?
oh goodness. Well, probably Luke, because I think it is Luke, because I see him the least.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't
that's
get to
your
see him as much. So I'm worried,
inclination,
even though I talk to him on the phone and he's fine
Yeah.
right now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Max is at a stage 2, our oldest, who's the offensive coordinator. He's trying to navigate coaching. He's trying to navigate coaching with his dad as the head coach
Yeah.
and his brother as the quarterback. And he has a lot of responsibility.
He should
on his
start a
shoulders.
podcast.
Oh my gosh, no, he should not. Nope. He should not talk about his mom ever. So 'cause-
We're having him on.
No.
I mean,
he's
you
the-
screwed him up. He
Yeah,
deserves
he's the
that.
first one.
He
yeah.
deserves
the
the
outlet.
opportunity.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. No, he's unavailable. Sorry, he's really busy. He just can't come to the phone. But he has a girlfriend who we love, and so his girlfriend, Kathleen, is awesome. She went to Duke with him. They knew each other at Duke, but they dated other people, and later on they reconnected, and then they started
That's
dating.
smart.
Yeah,
Unlike
very.
what you and Ed did, but
So dumb
yeah.
what we did,
Yeah,
obviously.
so stupid.
Yeah.
It has not worked out.
Right. Exactly. It's falling apart left and right. After what we're 20 now, we're about to hit 30 years of marriage.
When is your anniversary?
April 4th. You guys gonna have a party?
The 30th?
You'll see, because there'll be like fireworks and a
Wait,
parade.
that's 30. What are you guys going to do? I bet he's got something big planned.
No.
Well, he's still going to be
Probably not.
recovering from whatever he did for your birthday.
Yeah.
So
Stop. God bless Ed. I love Ed.
I love Ed too. I grew up in Denver. Like, you understand this. I grew up in Denver, and Ed McCaffrey was, I mean, I was in high school when they
When they were winning the Super Bowl
winning the
that
Super
one year.
Bowl,
Yeah.
and they-
yeah.
it
And
was-
Ed, I know, I'll say this about Ed. Ed does not think of himself like that in the least.
Yeah,
He's the
you can
most
tell.
unassuming
know.
man. And so when people, it's almost like still to this day, he's like, wait, why do you want me to sign that? I
Yeah.
don't, like little things like he just, it's funny. He doesn't think of himself
Do people
like that, which
still
isn't-
come up to him a lot? I mean, now, especially now that he's coaching and probably still in Colorado, there's
And so after he retired, he started calling games for the Broncos eventually, and he's always done commercials, local commercials. So in Denver, I mean, I can't say he's like, he's not John Elway, not Shannon Sharp or anything, but he is known.
Yeah.
So we went rafting in Canyon City with this other cute couple that we know, and first, Canyon City is the highest population of prisons in the whole U.S.
Yeah.
And we went down there, and for some reason, the prison community is Ed's people. We went down there, we got out of the car, and it was a flock of people. They saw Ed and recognized him. Okay, that has not happened for 20 years or something, or whatever years. And it was like a line out the car. As a matter of fact, I actually had gotten wet on the raft, came back in, and I was changing my pants, my bathing suit. I took it off, and I was about to put my sweatpants on, had no pants on. And he gets out of the car, and there was a line of people right there. And I'm literally completely buck naked, no pants. I had a top on, mind you, not buck naked. So, and they're lining up. I'm like, what?
Well, I
is
mean, I
going
don't want to
on
like,
here? It was
push it, but
so
I'm kind
bizarre.
of thinking that maybe they weren't lining up for Ed, but
Well,
that's just
you
a
know what?
guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
You
you'd
got
ever
all this working, like, really? Come on,
got,
seriously.
yeah,
Have
you
you
got-
seen this ad?
exactly. Well, they all did, and
They all did, and they
got
wanted
in line.
his
Get in
autograph,
line, buddy.
not mine. So anyway, yeah. So there'll be some bizarre, and like when the kids would play sports, a lot of basketball in particular, because it was more a condensed gym. When we go to like towns that we don't usually frequent, so we go down to Pueblo and play Pueblo. Like for some reason, people would recognize Ed down there. It was a novelty to see him. Whereas like where we live in Castle Rock, and Highlands Ranch and all that, they're like, oh, who cares? It's just Ed McCaffrey. He's annoying.
he's there. Yeah. Oh, it's
He's
Lisa's
like
husband.
that.
That's
yeah,
what they call him now.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
Lisa's
Yeah.
husband.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, obviously, if you have the genetic background that you have and the athletic background that you have, and Ed, obviously, same thing, did you guys know that you'd probably have some athletic kids? Was that you talked about it? Like, we hope that they play sports.
I knew, and well, honestly, more. I feel like I wanted them to play sports just because I thought it was so
What it brought.
healthy and was good for them to keep moving, and especially with boys that have just, oh my gosh, so much energy,
Boy energy
so much
is-
boy energy, and they always we put them in sports, and it was the best thing.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this is what they need to be doing.
Did they all gravitate to football?
I coached. This is Ed likes to say that because I coached them in soccer, they all played football. They actually all really liked soccer. Dylan loved to play goalie. Christian was a great soccer player, and Max was
basketball too,
great.
right?
And
Christian's-
basketball, yeah. They all did basketball as well. And that was a different season, which was nice. But soccer fell on the same season as football for high school. And I always said, too, I didn't want him playing when Ed was still playing. So Max was 9 at the time when he started, and it was tackle. We were at the tryouts, the big Dolphins tryout, and we're like, Christian, you cannot play. You're 7. There's no way you're going to play. And they did have a team, a tackle football team. And Max was out there. Like Max was a little bit more shy than Christian. And Christian was like literally begging me, pulling me, like, please let me go. And I'm like holding my hand. I'm like, no, you can't. You're too young. You're no way. We didn't know. And then no way. And then finally, and Ed wasn't there. He was still playing. And so he literally broke me down. And so I just was like, go. And it was almost like a race, a horse race, where you pull the I don't even know what, the starting block. Took off like a shot, gets out there and starts doing the drills like perfect form, like doing these little like running drills. I have a picture of it to this day. I should bring it in. It's so funny. And took to it like a duck to water. Like,
And was everyone like, who is this
didn't
kid?
look back. And he just thought, you could tell, I'm like, oh my God, he loves that.
I think everyone thinks that their kids or kid is very special and gifted, right? Like, I think we're kind of programmed to think like, oh, this, but like, with any of them, like, was there a moment that you kind of noticed? And I guess I'll ask you specifically about Christian, like, that you saw, like, oh, this is real.
He had an innate ability to see something and be able to imitate it. Like, he started out doing gymnastics, which I think is a great sport. When they were little, they all did. We like, oh my gosh, it was awesome. We had this cute coach. This guy was awesome and just was teaching him to tumble and do these things. And Christian he would do it and demonstrate it. And then Christian would be able to do it at a pretty young age. And I remember him walking the balance beam. This is so stupid, but he walked at the end of 7 months, literally 7 months old, walking at the end of 7 months. And he could see something and be able to imitate it really well. He had very good body control.
Wow.
Which I always thought that was fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, the end of 7 months. I'll never forget it because his brain was not ready to walk.
Right.
Because he would go into the light socket and try to climb on things.
Right.
And then his body, he wasn't stable for a while, but then once he got stable, he was like by 8 months, he was just running all around. And
he was running by 8 months.
Trying to keep up with Max. And he was way too young to be doing it. He just was not mentally prepared. And I was like, wow, that's really unusual. I knew because you compare him to other kids, like we all idiot moms do. And I was like, wow, that is pretty young to be doing that. That was like one thing I thought. I mean, did I know he was like gifted or whatever? I did not know at that point. I just thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I remember him just having a knack for that, being able to see something athletically and be able to do it with his body. So yeah, I don't know. I just remember he was pretty good in football early on. And could in basketball too. He was good at like dribbling,
I remember David Shaw talking about they went to one of his basketball games in high school, and just that he said, they were blown away by
wow.
because and they talk about that too, like the not necessarily like the specialization that now is like absurd. Okay, you're going to get a private coach and you're going to get and it's going to be this and just do
for
this
365 days
year long.
Okay, I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
I really do as a parent. And I'm like, this is the one thing I'll tell if your kid. I think it is so bad for a kid who's developing body to just do one sport. And I can pool on girls soccer. I know a ton of girls soccer players in Valor, the school they went to in particular, and that's what they did. Now they have the club teams and they play all year round and they travel in the club and it's expensive and they don't ever really have a break, A. B, they're only developing those muscles for soccer. So every sport helps the other sport, in my opinion, physically and mentally. And I think it's really important for, all through high school. And then obviously in college, if you get a scholarship in that sport, you stick to that sport. But in high school, I remember this, I told this mom who lived next door to us for a time, her daughter's incredible soccer player, went on and played at Duke, really good. And I told her that too. And she made her continue playing basketball. And a couple of her other friends, a lot of these girls, they hurt their knees. And it's like an epidemic.
It's a wear and tear of
right.
You're doing the same.
Exactly, the same one. And it weakens the others, the muscles that you're not using. Whereas if you play the other sports, it just helps. Anyway, that will be a piece of advice I'm giving moms,
that's great.
Parents.
Yeah.
That is my 2 cents, and that's all it's worth. Do with it what you want. But I think that just helped all my kids. Especially watching Christian basketball, cutting, going side to side. I just really feel that carried over to the football field as a running back. I thought that was a neat thing. So.
Do you love football?
I love hate.
Yeah.
It is a strong love and a strong hate. And ask me tomorrow, I might have a different answer. But right now, it's a love-hate.
So explain that.
When things are going well and you're winning, there's nothing better. But when things are going bad and not going very well, there's nothing worse. You even Ed now coaching. So they won 3 games. And it's, oh my gosh, it's heartbreaking. You have Dylan's the quarterback, Max is the OC, and Ed's the coach. And they're just so much. I mean, those are taxing on me physically at the end of the day.
Right.
Like, I can't talk during those games. And I move around. And one time I sat in one section and I heard some guys like ragging the quarterback, ragging the play calling. I'm like, okay, you're hitting every nerve in my body right now. And I had to pick up and move. And but I have to say, now that I'm a little bit older and I wouldn't say wiser, but more experienced, I deal with that stuff way better than I did when I was younger, for sure. Like, I mean, that would have killed me way back when. Now I know I just get up and move and calm down, and they have a right to ridicule. Hey, and now it's me used to be ridiculing sometimes before. I've been there too. So I get it, but I just have to walk away from it.
You have to walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I have a memory of you telling me that there were kids, or that Christian, it was, I think maybe a Pee Wee game, and Christian was getting like, I don't know, he was little, and I feel like I remember this story of like them fans yelling at him or like heckling him about.
Oh, we have so many, oh my gosh, so many stories. So in particular, basketball is very intense in high school because you're in a gym. You can
hear everything.
Hear everything. So The gyms, the basketball was relentless and awful, and I would go home crying sometimes. It was so bad. It was so ugly. Well, here's one for example. So after Christian lost the Heisman, we go back to Valor, and Dylan's playing probably against Mullen. No, I don't think it was Mullen. I don't even remember what school. That's how insignificant it is to this day. But the whole other team was started. First of all, they always would say stuff to the kids like, "You're not as good as your brother," or you're not the, or like they'd miss one ball, they would like make fun of them, like, "Oh, you're no Christian," or "You're no Max," whatever. And then they poor Dylan's out. Poor Dylan had it the worst. I don't even know what he did. He probably messed up or something, turned it over, I guess. And they started yelling, "Derrick Henry."
No.
Derrick Henry.
What little a-holes.
So I flipped him off.
Yeah.
Was that wrong?
No.
Should I not have done that?
I mean, I want to call their moms right
totally.
now.
I want to give them a spanking.
Let's spank those kids.
So that was one thing. Like I said, I don't even remember what school it was, but there was a lot of that went on. It was awful.
I mean, that's
bad.
mean.
And it was fresh and it was raw.
Yeah.
It had we had just come back from that whole hoopla, and it was like, and then you're taking it out on the brother. It's
I don't think people understand that side of it.
Yeah.
And they're fans, so like they
they don't get it. They think everything's perfect in your world,
right? And then they can take it. But like it does wear
and
on
Max
you.
too, in particular, my oldest, who was a really fast and a really good player at the time. He got it the worst because. Surprisingly, but he would get a lot of stuff like, "You're not your father, you're not as good as your dad." There was a lot of that went on. I was just like, and he's very sensitive at the time. He's a good kid. He has a good conscience. He's a sweet person. He cares about other people, which that's one thing I'm actually more proud of than anything, that they do have a conscience. They're not. Yeah. My goal was to not raise dicks. Like little dicks. Like, just don't be a little
don't be a dick.
And is that bad? Can I
That's
say
your
that?
parenting philosophy.
Am I
Just
allowed
don't
to
be
say
a
bad
dick.
word? Yeah, literally, just don't be a dick. That's all you got to do is just be considerate of somebody else. And there are times I know you're going to get mad at people. That's normal. That happens. So you deal with it then. But anyway, and he's not a dick. I'll say that. But he'd get a lot of flack, and it would hurt him because he was sensitive.
Of course.
So as they all were in their way, but they kind of watched Max go through it, and they were like, "Oh, it happened to him. It's it could happen to me too." But it was just the first one going through it was always the hardest.
That's hard.
So it's okay.
And I'm sure
they survived. It's not they're fine.
They're all doing just well. They're not dicks.
They're not dicks, and just don't go on Twitter. Stay away from the Twitters. Because they can read too. Which
your kids can read.
Yeah,
you got those
kind
kids
of.
that can read.
Kind of. Yeah.
I don't have those.
Yeah. You don't want them to learn to read.
I'm not going to.
Don't teach them to read. Just hold them back, and they'll be so much happier in life.
They will. They're going to just
teach
go
them,
through life.
To make a fire.
Yeah.
Make a camping thing, whatever. Just like survival skills. That's all they need.
Yeah.
You don't need
fish.
all that.
I think we could probably
100%.
Yeah.
Just fit. Yeah.
Catch. We've got a lot of like gophers around, and
roadkill.
so they could
start a fire. That's what you need to do. That's what's important in life. That's my.
I knew you would have.
See, yeah, simple.
Where was this advice? I mean, I can't believe I had to wait until Collins was 5 for you to be telling me this. But you're right.
It's
now it's a
never
critical
too early.
moment. He's about to start kindergarten. I'm going to tell the teacher.
Perfect timing. Hey,
I don't want him to read.
Reading time. I want him outside. I want him
outside starting fires.
Get some rhyme.
By the way, should we get the champagne?
Yes.
Okay.
Woo!
Such a beautiful
sound.
sound.
Your photo.
That's such a beautiful sound.
That is so.
You know what they call it? Le Put d'Ange? It's the fart of an angel.
No.
That's what it's true.
Get over there.
All right, I'm pouring you some champagne because I got you a very fancy red Solo cup.
Oh my God, college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like, how I want our first 3 months of dating to be just like you're and Ed's, where there's just both of us are trying to prove that we drank.
Well, whip it out. Let's go. No, I'm kidding. I
love you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, great. Le Put d'Ange. But yeah, you've never heard about that? Le Put d'Ange?
I've never, but
it's really French it's like the fart of an angel.
That's
when you
hilarious.
Open the
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I never drank at games either.
You didn't? No. I think that's the only thing that would get me through.
Still, I had to drive everywhere.
And you still don't?
I have before, but it's not a usual thing. I more need to afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should.
I think my goal for you this year is to just drink a lot more at games, because then you can really just not worry about the heckling. Like it'll all just be noise. It won't even bother you if you hear people say stuff.
People yelling.
Because if you're drunk, like everything rolls off your back. For me,
you should have never been born. Your mom's womb's polluted.
What's the worst thing? I mean, the Derrick Henry is
Yeah, the Derrick Henry.
that
and
one.
it was so
It was
raw
because
at
it
the
was so
time. Right
yes.
after. I'm like, oh, I think I cried.
Yeah.
Gosh, there were so many. Oh, there was one. I think I've told this story before, but Christian. It was high school. It was football too, and Christian had a great touchdown, nice touchdown. He ran all the way down, and was like around the end zone. And there was a coach from an opposing team that absolutely abhorred, hated us, loathed us with a passion. Nearby high school, and he was the coach of that team, and they were off that week, so he was there like scouting, watching us, and he was in the end zone. I swear to God, with his own Letterman jacket. Okay, he's like a 50 some odd year old man slash
say
coach
no more.
of another
Right.
school, and he goes, "You're a pussy, just like your dad."
After he scored a touchdown?
Yeah. And I was like,
What did Chris...
I was like, well, how does he know Ed so well? That's what I couldn't. I was like, what? It's so weird. I'm kidding.
Just for the record, Ed is not a pussy.
He's not. He is not. I promise. He's
Christian,
awesome. Maybe a little.
what a stupid put. I mean, that's...
I know. High school was very. I mean,
you know what Christian should have said? Your mom's a pussy.
Yeah. Yeah. He should have.
Dang. Let's call that guy.
He needs to.
We've got a lot of phone calls to make after this podcast. We got to call those kids'
He
parents.
actually had a good comeback, and I forget what it was. Something like, oh yeah, he goes, "I'm 13 years old," is what he said, or 14. I think it was 14. That's what he said back, like. Just like, I'm 14. He goes,
I mean,
I
that's
hear
a
my
great...
mom talk like that, but
Yeah.
not from you.
That is actually the perfect...
It was perfect comeback
Dude,
ever.
I'm
I was so proud of
14.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a kid.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe
Here's
I
your
did
question.
something right.
You
See?
must have done something
Look,
right.
Yeah,
There was one. You did like one thing right. What? Can you give me your worst mom moment? Do you have one that comes to mind?
Oh gosh.
Anything that you're like, man, I wish I had handled that differently.
Well, yeah. So Bingham was coming in town. Bingham is a really good school from Utah. And to Christian's credit, he had an incredible game. Oh my gosh, he had such a good, just hard fought game, and we ended up losing. And it was devastating because it was so close. We should have pulled it out. We should have won. And so anyway, he was distraught. And parents came down to the field. We always, have gathering, and they have the parents come in. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he was tearing up, and he was trying to cry. And I, as an idiot mom at the time, which I regret to this day, was like, don't cry. Whatever you do, don't cry. Don't cry. Like, I was competitive, and I was like, it was just a bad parenting. Like, he had every right to cry. I wanted to cry, and after I felt really guilty about it, because you're like, come on, he please.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a bad parenting moment. You wonder.
But he didn't cry.
I think he shed a tear, and he kind of sucked it up, and he had to walk away from me. I know every time they'd see their mom, they cry, they tear up. It's in an emotional moment.
Right.
I think they've all done it at different times, and they're embarrassed. You're like, you want to just give them a hug, and then they
Sure.
get more embarrassed. But yeah, he wanted to hug, and I didn't let him cry. So therapy.
Gee, I was
Hashtag
going to say,
therapy.
have you apologized to him for
I think
that?
I have.
Okay,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have. I'm sure, but I don't think he's really thinking about it right now. Is my guess. I think
He's probably crying right now.
he's like hugging Olivia, just tears popping out. Yeah.
What's the happiest you felt as a parent?
Let's see. I would say when they were born, but I was so strung out on drugs that I
Yeah.
don't know if that was exactly it. Gosh, I mean, there's been so many times that, I don't know if there was one, but I mean, obviously that Rose Bowl was so gratifying and so special. That whole day, that was one of the, looking back on my life, that was one of the best days of my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was going to be, and that's what made it so special. I was, I remember I heard about the other team going, we don't even know who Christian McCaffrey is, and heckling, heck, whatever, just saying bad things about him and the team beforehand. And they were so arrogant in general, not everyone, but there was a few players that were just kind of cocky. And then their fans, I mean, they were outnumbered us like crazy. It was three-quarters
there. I remember it.
yellow.
Do you remember I interviewed you and Ed after that
I
game,
do.
and we got
I was
kicked
a little-
off? We were getting in
Yes.
trouble
I
because we
remember
were on
being
the
awkward because we were on the
field.
field. Yeah, it was like
and
weird,
was-
and they made us leave.
But
so.
the best part about that is it was on the heels of the Heisman, right? And I
Right.
remember when he
And he had
ran
a
that
chip.
first touchdown back, right? Because I think it was that part.
the very first play.
I
of the game.
remember being like, the Heisman voters owe Iowa an apology. Because you could see what was going to happen. And then that was
Yeah.
one of the most special.
It was really gratifying, and
Yeah.
it was a really fun day. I had all my kids there.
Yeah.
That was special at the time because that was hard to come by. And do you remember the weather and the sun?
It was
setting?
perfection.
It sounds so stupid.
It is.
It was just magical.
The Rose Bowl is. You can't describe it. So there's like the good news is that this isn't the last thing because you agreed to do this podcast. We
I
get
got
to
roped
just
into.
continue.
I mean, the handcuffs are tough
Yeah,
to get off. I
just
don't
gonna
have the
say,
key.
shh. You blink twice if you
Yeah.
if you're being held against your will. But there's no video, so go ahead. Blink all you want, sister.
I'm going to blink in Morse code. Help me with my eyes. Can
I
someone
can't
do-
read.
Oh, that's true. Shoot.
I think we just did our first episode.
Wow.
I mean,
Look
I
at
don't know
us.
if it's gonna.
Look
I
at
don't know if
us.
it's gonna turn into anything, but we just talked for a couple hours. So
Love it.
We'll see if we can get at least like 5 minutes out of that. We've got an incredible first guest that you booked.
Yes, I'm going to take full credit for her
You
because
should.
she's amazing.
And I'm very excited.
An incredible mom.
For everyone.
Incredible family. Her son's actually better than mine. He was a higher draft pick, but
Third overall.
yeah, 5 higher than mine. My loser son.
She did a lot of things right.
Yes, she did. A lot.
Okay.
Way more than me.
So that's called a teaser. I am so excited.
me too.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you.
Your mom.
Your mom.
Okay, now what do you guys want to say? You can say whatever you want into the mic.
I love you.